Hello, and welcome to Projected Meditation. Here we invite you on a unique journey beyond traditional meditation. Prepare to project your mind into captivating stories, feeling every emotion and detail as if you're truly there. This isn't just listening, it's an immersive experience designed to transport your consciousness through the power of narrative. To begin your projected meditation, please follow these simple steps. Find a peaceful space where you won't be disturbed for the next minutes. For the best immersive experience, please use headphones or earbuds. Lie down or sit comfortably, ensuring your body is relaxed and supported. When you're ready, gently close your eyes. This will allow your imagination to unfold freely. Take a few deep, slow breaths, inhaling peace and exhaling any tension. Now listen carefully for the signal. Upon the third chime, your journey will begin. The air still tasted of salt and the recent storm's fury. It was a cold, gray dawn on the coast of Maine, the kind of light that seemed to leach all color from the world, leaving behind a stark tableau of wreckage. The wind, though no longer a howl, carried a low, mournful moan as it pushed through the skeletal remains of a fishing pier and rattled the loose shingles of 1,000 rooftops. The scent of pine and wet earth mixed with the sharp, briny tang of the sea, a smell of both life and recent devastation. Into this scene walked Elias, a photographer sent from the city, his leather satchel of cameras feeling heavier with each step. He was not a man moved by a single tragedy. His professional detachment was a well-honed shield, a necessary barrier between his mind and the chaos he was paid to capture. His eye, trained to see lines and light, saw only the dramatic narrative of the storm. The splintered lumber, the fishing nets tangled like forgotten lace on the broken jetties, the boats, once proud, now resting on their sides like wounded beasts. He raised his camera, its cold metal a familiar comfort against his cheek, and began to work. The click of the shutter a sharp punctuation in the sorrowful wind. His mission was to document the destruction, to capture the raw, emotional aftermath, and he moved with the focused efficiency of a man on a task. The village, however, did not surrender to its ruin. As the hours passed, Elias began to see a different, more profound narrative unfold. He saw it in the deliberate, unhurried movements of the townspeople, a quiet resilience that was not dramatic, but deeply felt. He came across an old fisherman, his face a web of sun-worn lines, tirelessly coiling thick, wet rope at the edge of the harbor. His hands, gnarled and powerful, moved with a practiced rhythm, his gaze steady on the task, a sense of patient order in a world of disorder. His old skiff, the Morning Star, was half submerged in the icy water, its hull cracked and scarred, but the old man did not look at it. His focus was entirely on the rope, on the simple, vital act of preparation. He was not looking back at the storm's fury, but forward to the day he would repair his boat and return to the sea. A little further down the harbor, he found a family. The mother, a woman with a weary but determined set to her jaw, was carefully collecting pieces of her home that had been torn away and scattered. She knelt in the mud, her movements slow and meticulous as she picked up shards of painted wood, smooth river stones, and a single intact porcelain teacup. She placed each item gently into a wicker basket, her hands working not with frantic desperation, but with a quiet, careful reverence. Beside her, her young son, no older than 10, methodically swept the smaller debris into piles with a splintered broom. He was not crying. He was simply working, mirroring his mother's quiet strength. Elias lifted his camera, his eye pressed to the viewfinder. He could capture the devastation behind them, the gaping hole in the side of their cottage, the torn curtains flapping in the wind. That was the story his editor wanted. That was the drama. But as he looked through the lens, he was more drawn to the mother's hands, to the way she held the teacup as if it were a precious jewel, to the boy's steady, focused movements. He took the shot, but felt a strange, quiet unease. The photograph would show destruction, but it would not capture the profound dignity he was witnessing. His journey through the village continued, the damp cold seeping into his bones. The sound of the wind, once a scream, was now a low hum, a constant presence that was slowly being replaced by the sound of human industry. The rhythmic thud of hammers on wood, the creak of wheelbarrows laden with debris, the soft murmur of neighbors talking as they worked side by side. The air, thick with the scent of salty decay, was slowly being overtaken by the cleaner smells of fresh-cut pine and the faint, earthy aroma of wet soil. He found himself drawn to the center of town, where a small group of young people had gathered. They were not from the village, he realized, but volunteers who had come to help. Their energy was vibrant, a stark contrast to the weary grace of the older villagers. They worked together, their movements efficient and synchronized, clearing debris from a narrow street. The sound of their laughter, bright and clear in the heavy air, was a surprising note of harmony in the symphony of recovery. As the day wore on, Elias's professional detachment began to crack. He found himself putting his camera down more often, just watching. He sat on a cold stone bench and, for the first time in a long time, he just listened. He listened to the collective sound of a community healing. He listened to the soft rhythm of the old fisherman's rope coiling, the gentle click of the mother placing a salvaged item in her basket, the steady hum of the young people's voices as they worked together. The chaos he had come to document was still there, a scar on the land, but he was beginning to see the true story was not the storm. The true story was the stillness within it, the quiet, unwavering resolve that lived in the heart of every person he encountered.
As the day wore on, Elias's professional detachment, his well-practiced armor, began to crack and splinter. He found himself putting his camera down more often, the cold metal feeling foreign in his hands, and simply watching. He sat on a cold stone bench, its surface slick with the dampness of the storm, and for the first time in a long time, he just listened. He listened to the collective sound of a community healing. The low, mournful moan of the wind had been replaced by a quiet symphony of human industry. The rhythmic thud of hammers on wood, a sound of resolute purpose, the creak of wheelbarrows laden with debris, the soft murmur of neighbors talking as they worked side by side, sharing a quiet bond of resilience. The air, once thick with the scent of salty decay and chaos, was slowly being overtaken by the cleaner, sweeter smells of fresh-cut pine and the faint, earthy aroma of wet soil. He found himself drawn back to the harbor, where the old fisherman, his name was Samuel, still worked on the coiling of the thick, wet rope. Elias watched him for a long time, unnoticed. The old man's hands moved with such grace, a fluid dance of muscle and purpose. The sun, a pale, anemic disk in the gray sky, broke through the clouds for a moment, casting a single ethereal beam of light onto the wet rope, making each strand glisten like spun gold. It was not a grand or dramatic sight. There was no chaos, no despair. There was only the quiet dignity of a man engaged in a simple, fundamental act of living. The beauty was not in the storm, Elias realized, but in the peaceful, unwavering resolve that followed it.
Elias walked over, not to take a photograph, but just to speak. He stood on the damp jetty, and the old man, without looking up from his task, said,
"Morning. She was a mean one, wasn't she?"
Elias nodded, his own voice a bit rough.
She was you're not worried about your boat?
Samuel chuckled, a dry, rustling sound like leaves skittering across the pavement.
"The sea will take what she wants, boy, but she gives back too. She gave me this rope, didn't she? And the wood that will fix her. That's just waiting to be shaped. Worrying won't mend a boat. Work will."
He looked up then, his eyes as clear as the sea on a calm day, holding a profound peace. Elias, for a moment, felt the armor of his professional detachment dissolve. He hadn't come for this. He had come for the drama. But he was finding the peace, and it was disarming in its simplicity. He left Samuel and found himself wandering back through the village, the air now filled with the determined sound of hammers. He came upon the mother and her son again, a small tableau of focused grace. She was now carefully wiping the salvaged porcelain teacup, its intricate painted pattern of tiny blue flowers now visible and bright. The boy, having finished with his sweeping, was gently placing a new sapling into a patch of earth where a tree had been uprooted. His movements were slow, deliberate, as if a small, insignificant act held the weight of the world's future. The mother, catching sight of Elias, offered a small, grateful smile, a quick acknowledgement of a shared wordless understanding. Elias did not lift his camera. He did not need to. The image of the teacup, a tiny island of beauty in a sea of mud, was now seared into his memory. The real story was not a photograph. It was an emotion, a sense of resilience that could not be captured by a shutter.
In the late afternoon, as the clouds began to part and a warm, golden light bathed the village, Elias found himself on a small hill overlooking the town. The sun's rays caught the wet rooftops, making them sparkle like 1,000 diamonds. The air, crisp and cold, was now a cleaner scent, a mixture of pine, damp soil, and the faint, earthy aroma of life renewed. Below him, he could see the entire community working together. The young volunteers, their laughter still bright, now moved with a purpose that seemed to echo the quiet determination of the older villagers. A collective rhythm had taken hold, a silent dance of mending and rebuilding.
Elias finally raised his camera, his hands feeling different now, less like tools of his trade and more like an extension of his own consciousness. His gaze was no longer searching for the dramatic headline. It was seeking the subtle beauty, the whisper of peace that lived in the details. He photographed the entire village, bathed in golden light, the smoke from newly lit chimneys rising slowly, a testament not to the power of the storm, but to the profound power of human resilience.
He had come to the village as a detached observer, seeking to document the chaos. He was leaving as a humbled witness, carrying not the weight of devastation, but the gentle, profound peace of a community that had found its quiet center in the midst of a storm. The photographs he carried were no longer just images. They were stories of courage, acceptance, and the beautiful truth that even in the face of ruin, a profound sense of serenity can be found in the quiet, resolute act of mending. He packed his camera, the cold metal feeling warm now against his hand. He no longer felt the need to chase the drama. He understood now that the most powerful stories are the ones whispered by the stillness within the chaos. And he left with a new peace in his heart, a quiet understanding of the world's most powerful force, quiet dignity. The sound of the wind was now a gentle breeze, a final, soft sigh. The village was still, a quiet beauty restored. The moon, a crescent sliver in the darkening sky, began its slow, steady ascent, a testament to the quiet, unending cycle of time, a symbol of a peace that always returns, even after the fiercest of storms. As this narrative journey concludes, hold its tranquil peace and insights. Now slowly return, feeling refreshed. Gently open your eyes to your present moment.